All right, welcome back. Shh. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. The attendance is running, so please, everyone, sign in. I understand the bookstore is still without books. We're actually contractually obligated to support the bookstore. Do you know I can't even tell you there are other places you can buy the book? I'm not allowed to. I told a student, I'm sure you know what this place is called, and I got in trouble. So I'm serious. I'm completely serious. So there you go. That's all I'm gonna say. It's yeah, in the bathroom. I've not heard of this place. Is it a river in the? That's a river, right? That goes through South America. Is that right? Well, you know what? That's a prime example of good research. Yeah, I'll shut up now. Anyway, so if you'd already emailed me asking for a PDF, and I sent you a PDF, that PDF already has the reading for Thursday, so you're covered for this week. But again, buying the book is a good first step for the class. I'll leave it in your good hands to figure out how to do that. All right. I have no. Actually, the cookies are still there. I'm not sure why they're still there, but they're still there. So if you want, you can take more. I have more of the name card. So if you didn't get one, just pass it around, please. I'll put half here, half the other side. So if you didn't get one, just fill it out. And if you use your pen, just write it nice with a big black marker. Okay. Cookies there, name cards there. Other question before you get started? Yeah, I'll ask you. Okay, yeah. Just pass them back. They'll get there eventually. All right. The attendance is running, so please sign in. I won't remind you every class. Let's see what else. Anything else? All right, let's get started. I use for class a transcription service called Otter. Do you guys know what Otter is? So if you go to the folder for our class, you go to class notes, this is section number A, the letter A. If you open up the notes from last class, class number 1, you'll see there's a link. See this link? If you click that, you'll find that there's a transcript of our class. When I run Zoom, it automatically transcribes everything. So you can see me here. Good to be here. Good to be here. Okay, you can play it back at multiple iterations. Why am I giving you this transcript? So I discourage you from doing this. Typing down everything I say. It is the least effective use of your time to type down everything I say. Don't do it. It's bad. Sit here, listen, learn, absorb. If you want to go back and see if you miss anything, check the transcript. You can jump to a specific portion of the lecture. So it's like, oh, I remember he was talking about the baseball case, something like the labor theory. You can just do a search, right? It's not a perfect transcript. There are often errors in the transcription, but it's pretty good. And I think you'll enjoy it. Okay? The markers are floating around if you don't have one. Okay, you'll get it eventually. All right, any other questions? Right there, pass it this way, please. All right, I want to start the class off with a polling question. Let me just give you the reason why we do polling questions. When you're in law school, very often you don't get any feedback the last week of class, right? Your exam. That's not very helpful. One of our goals is to give you feedback throughout the process as the class goes along. These polling questions are not graded. I won't grade you. I won't say, oh, John, you got this one wrong. What's wrong with you? This is your own sort of wake-up call. It's like your own check to see what's going on. I encourage you to take these questions seriously. I post them the night before, so you can even think about them in advance if you want to. It's not a surprise. For the love of God, don't cheat, right? These are ungraded questions. They don't count for anything. Don't look at your neighbor's computer saying, oh, yeah, what'd you put for this one, right? Do it on your own. If you find that you're consistently not getting them right, or you're not sure, that's your first clue that maybe you should come talk to me. This is like an early warning detection system. When you're getting these wrong, that means something's not working. Right? Understood? Okay, very good. All right, so let's do question number 1. This will be a short answer, just fill in the blank. Everyone have the polling up on their phones? Everyone good with that? Okay. If you're not, just tell me afterwards. Desktop 2, select, okay. All right, so the question is, when one European nation finds a new territory before other European nations, there's acquisition by blank. Acquisition by blank. Give me another 10 seconds. All right, and who's up next? Where did I finish last time? Is that Molly, you next?
Yes.
You've been dreading it the last 2 days?
Yes.
I know, I'm sorry. It's tough, especially on the long weekend, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Molly, so this is a softball, right? What's your answer here?
Discovery.
Okay, tell me what acquisition by discovery is, please.
It is the quote-unquote finding of an uncharted territory from other European nations.
Now, you said something savvy. You said quote unquote. Why did you do the quote unquote business? What's that about?
Because there's people who are already living on the land.
Ah, so it's not like you're finding an island in the Pacific. There's a volcano just blew up, brand new island out of nowhere. This land was occupied by someone else before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Molly. Am I going this way or that way? Okay. All right. So let's try question number 2. This will be for Fidel in about 40 seconds or so. Multiple choice. Okay. Okay. So after a European nation finds a new territory, it can acquire the land through A, conquest of the natives, B, purchasing it from the natives, C, both of the above, D, none of the above. And take another 15 or 20 seconds to think about this one. Okay. Another 5 seconds. I try to do about 40, 45 seconds because I don't want to take up the entire class. Okay, does anyone need the marker or the name tags? Send them that way, wherever they are. If we need more, I have more in my office. We can do it later. Okay. All right, Fidel, help me out here. What's your answer? Okay. You put conquest. What would that be? Is B wrong?
It's not wrong, but like the last case in Macintosh, it depends on the sovereign.
So what did Macintosh say? Could the native people sell the territory?
Oh no, they were occupying.
Right, but my question is different. Were they allowed to sell it?
No,
Why not?
they didn't own it.
Huh. What did the court actually hold about the power of natives to sell property? You just walk it over there. Last where they need it. That's fine. You can just walk it over. Fidel, were the native people allowed to actually sell this property?
It said that, well, like I said, they were just occupying it,
That's right.
and that if it was upheld that they could sell it, there would be no United States.
All right, so let's see the results. Wow, this one's kind of divided. This is, I think one person put B. Would you put, I can see your name tag.
I don't have the marker yet.
Well, okay, we'll get it in a minute. What's your name?
Josh?
Josh? Oh, God, how did I know your name? My goodness. Okay. Josh, what'd you put here, A or C?
I put A
Why'd you put A?
because in Macintosh they said that the Indians were incapable of engaging in contract.
What about Manhattan Island?
Sorry?
What about Manhattan? The island of Manhattan, New York City is today. How's that acquired? Mentioned in class?
Not sure.
I think we mentioned it in class, did we? Is that Dylan? What'd you put here?
I could see,
Tell me why you put C.
because the US government has a sole right to do business with the natives.
The sole right to do what?
Business,
So the government could buy it from the natives, but private people couldn't. Dylan, was the government required to purchase from the natives? What could they do instead of purchasing from them?
they could just take it.
Take it by brute force, right? All right. So this is why I hate multiple choice questions. I don't ever give them my exam. So you can make a good argument about A or C. I think the slightly better example here is A. I think it's a slightly better answer, which is not to say the other one's wrong, but let me just explain why. I think Dylan kind of hit on it, right? The government was under no obligation to purchase it from the Indians, from the natives, right? But if they chose to, they could. They may decide it's cheaper to buy it than to wage a war, to engage in the loss of life. And in fact, there are instances where Manhattan Island, for example, was purchased from the native people for like $20, basically the equivalent. It's almost like nothing for the entire island of Manhattan. Okay, so I think here A is probably the better answer, but C is still good. But you have to just understand why. All right, let's try another question. It's a short answer. All right, this is me for Darvish in a minute. All right, and now Josh has his name tag. Now we're in business. Okay. Under the rule in Johnson versus McIntosh, the native people have the right to blank the land, but cannot blank the land. That sounds wrong. Sounded better in my head when I wrote the question before. Okay. Darvish, is that your name?
Darvish,
Darvish. Okay. Darvish, help us out here. What did you put for your answer?
occupied but cannot own.
What does that mean they can occupy but cannot own?
That they can live on it temporarily, but they don't have like real title to land.
Okay, so now you're using these funny words like title. What does own actually mean? What does it mean to own something? You're using this word, you've used it 100 times in your life. What does it actually mean? What does it mean to own something?
To have full possession, rightful possession.
So you have the house in your hands and you're just holding on to it? I mean, what does it mean to own land? Do you hug the soil? What does it mean to have soil in your possession? You can hold a baseball in your hand. You can't hold a whale in your hand.
If you're, I guess, able to sell it.
Ah, now we're getting closer. What could the Indians not do?
They couldn't sell because they
There we go. Okay, so the answer here is they could occupy the land, but they couldn't. That's right. Okay, everyone see that? You got to the right place, right? Try to avoid using words like own and title because you don't really know what they mean. I'm not saying that to be mean, right? But the way people in normal society use words is not how we use it in property class. So try and say own, title, be precise. They cannot sell it. They can occupy it, they can farm, they can hunt, but they can't sell it. Understood? You'll see in the first case today, how the heck do you own a whale? Right? Isn't that the issue in the first case? How do you own a whale? You can't like put your arms around it. It's a huge thing, right? You can't put it in your boat. You can't drag it to shore. It's this ginormous 70-ton thing. All right? All right. Well, we'll get to question 4 later. All right. Any questions so far? All right. Now let's do the first case. I'll just give some background. I put a lot of pictures and different things in the lecture notes, which are maybe helpful for you or maybe not. I never know. But the whales we're talking about here are like huge. I just want to give you a sense of scale. This is like a picture that puts a person that's 6 feet tall, 2 meters, next to a whale, right? These whales weigh 70 tons, almost 100 feet long. It's 10 times the size of an elephant, just put in your mind how big an elephant is, right? These are huge animals. And hunting these whales is mighty dangerous. This is a picture of what a whale hunt looks like, right? The whale can just flip your boat up in the air and you're all dead. Done. You're gone. You never see your family again. So this is not like This is not like people with fishing as for a hobby or whatever. I drink some beer. This is a very dangerous profession. Okay, doke. Nick, are you next? All right, Nick, you want to give me the facts, please, in again, be rich.
Yeah, so Ken was a fisher for whales, and he actually killed a whale.
Let me just stop you there and ask you a hard question. How do we know he actually killed a whale?
Because there's special markers.
Did this whale have any markings in it?
Not in this case.
No. Okay, so I'll ask you the question again. How do we know that he actually killed a whale? Is there any proof?
What's the bottom of the game?
How do you know that's his whale? Maybe it was someone else's whale. Maybe the whale just died of natural causes. I don't know. How do we know he killed this whale? Do we have any proof whatsoever? We don't. You all just trusted him, didn't you? There are like 8 of you in this room. You all believe, oh, yeah, of course, Gang killed it. How do we know? How on earth do we know? We have no idea. So, Chelsea, let me ask you this question maybe a little bit differently. Why do we believe Mr. Genn that when he says he killed this whale, we say he actually killed it? The other guy has problems too. I'll get to the other guy in a minute. But why does the court go ahead and believe Mr. Genn?
Because it was like a custom, when you wouldn't lie about it, because I don't know, I think off of the harpoon, you feel it would have like a signature.
But it didn't, right? We'll get to the harpoon in a minute, but we don't have that in this case. Oops. Sorry, wrong one. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, good. So now we're getting cynical, right? All right. So let's try this Hunter a little bit differently, right? Hunter, why might the court be inclined to believe Mr. Genn?
So I know the job requires skill and experience, and that's what it comes down to as to who put in more work.
Okay, no, you're right. This guy's a hardworking whaler. He's a good standing member of the community. We all agree with that, right? But my question is, why do you think the court's inclined to believe Mr. Genn that he actually hunted this whale? What maybe gave him some, credibility, so to speak? Because it's a he said, she said. He said.
Is the bottom land.
But that didn't apply in this case. There was no marking on this whale, right? Some of the people used these lances, which had symbols on them, but we didn't. That wasn't this case, right? He goes to court, says, "That's my whale." Says who? Right? It's not like the guy caught the baseballs on camera catching it, right? It's a harder case than you thought, isn't it? Ooh. Gabriel, let me ask you a question different time. Now, we have these two parties, right? Genn is a whaler, right? He's been doing this business for, some time. Why might the court be inclined to believe him? Reputation. Okay, now we're on the right track. What do you mean reputation?
Well, he's established experience and credentials within that.
Oh, so he's known in this community. Okay, now everyone see where I'm going, right? When you're a known hunter in this community, what does that buy you? Ooh, good. Credibility. That's exactly what I was looking for, right? Credibility. Right? So the court said, okay, fine. We believe him. Okay, so Gabriel, credibility for Mr. Genn, right? That's Kevin? Kevin, tell us about Mr. Rich. How's he come into the picture?
So, Mr. Rich is the person that purchased the whale during auction.
Okay, and who did he get it from?
He got it from Ellis, who found the whale.
Ah, now, do you think Mr. Rich and Mr. Ellis have credibility issues here, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, when they found the whale, it said in the notes, there's no proof that they didn't know that there was a signature, but there was really there that there was a signature.
Perfect. Okay. Good. You guys, exactly what I was looking to get. I'm sorry, my Google Calendar popped up on you. The meeting's well over. Right? You got exactly what I was looking for. Mr. Genn, by all accounts, is a responsible fisherman, right? He's in the community. He's known. He's hunted before. He knows the customs of the community, right? And Arturo, what are the customs of this community? What are their traditions? What do they usually do?
So if you shoot a whale, you let the community know.
Good. How do you let them know? How does it? In other words, let me take a step back, Arturo. Right? Or let me ask you this question. Let me ask you a simpler question. Right? If you want to hunt a whale, right? How do you actually go about hunting a whale? Just walk me through the process.
You and your friends get in a boat.
Get in a boat, okay?
Get out to sea.
Get out to sea, okay?
With a big harpoon, and you.
Big harpoon, and you put a rock in the harpoon, right?
Right.
Okay, this is called a bomb lance. You basically put a rocket on top of a harpoon. So you shoot this rocket harpoon into this ginormous 80-ton whale, and then what happens?
You pray. And
You pray. Yeah, you say a prayer, right? Say a prayer. The patron saint of whales. I don't know who that is. But you say a prayer. They hit the damn whale. Then what happens? You hit it.
you hit it. Hopefully, it starts sinking or it starts dying.
Okay. You actually use the right verb. You don't kill the whale, right? You wound it. You basically blow up a hole inside, and you hope that it bleeds out and dies, right? No, I'm sorry, Molly. I'm sorry. You're wincing, but it's true, right? You can't kill a whale with a stupid little harpoon, but if you blow enough of a hole in it, it just sort of blah, and then you fill in the blank, right? Okay, Arturo, what happens after you blow a hole in the side of the whale?
It starts sinking.
Yeah, it sinks. Eventually it dies, right? What happens after it dies?
It'll wash up the shore.
Or what can also happen?
Or the rope could stay lodged in, and you can anchor it.
Okay, what else can happen? The unlucky option.
The harpoon gets dislodged.
And then what happens to the carcass?
It's floating freely.
And it goes out to?
Out to sea.
At the sea, right? So a couple things can happen, right? It can, best case scenario, the whale sticks to your rope and your boat is physically attached to the rope, which is one of the cases we studied, right? And it's yours, right? You know that your harpoon is in this whale and it goes to the bottom. Another option, the rope breaks, which is, I think, pretty likely, but your harpoon has a special brand on it. Think of like with cattle brand, right? This is your symbol, right? A J, whatever your symbol is, right? You see there's a harpoon in the whale, your symbol's in there, that's yours. Maybe the harpoon falls out, but there was a very distinctive marking on your harpoon, maybe a star. And you see there's a star-shaped hole on the whale. That's going to be very unlikely that you actually have this clean enough wound that you can actually find, but maybe it works, right? Another option is a thing falls to the bottom of the ocean and just washes out to sea, never to be seen again. You get zero for it, right? You get absolutely nothing. All that hard work, you lost an entire day of sailing, and you get nothing to show for it. Then there's the option that happened in our case. It goes to the bottom of the ocean, dies, floats up, the tide brings it to shore. That's what happened here. Washed to shore. Okay. Can I get markers for 3? I can't read any of those name tags. It's hard.
There's nothing on it. Mine's green.
Oh, there's nothing on it. That's why I thought I'm going blind. Okay, so just get the markers, please, to the entire last row. Is that Bree? Oh, you gave me the name of that e-commerce site I've never heard of. Sorry. You gave me the name of the e-commerce site I've never heard of. I've just, maybe there's an app, I don't know. Alexa, what's different? I had a student named Alexa once. That was anyway, funny. Zoom. All right, so what happened here when the whale washed on shore?
Rich and his friends found the whale.
Okay, well, who actually found it? It wasn't Rich.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't Rich who found it. Who found it?
Or, forgot his name.
Ellis. Good. Ellis found it. And when Ellis found the whale on shore, did he do the right thing?
Well, I think most people would say no.
Ooh.
According to our customs, no.
Okay, so why you're hedging? You're doing the quote unquote business, right? Why are we doing the hedging? You're not so sure he did the wrong thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if maybe he knew at the time. If he's not a part of the whaling business, then how would he know that that's what was customary? Maybe he thought he just found a dead whale and.
Oh, good idea. So Bree's like, he wasn't a whaler. Maybe he didn't know about the custom, right? He found a valuable item on the shore, and he's like, screw this, I'm going to go sell it. Okay. So what did he actually do? I see you're writing your name. What's your name? I'm sorry? Jocelyn. So Jocelyn, what did he actually do? He didn't go ahead and alert the whaling community. What did he actually do?
So he decided to claim it and then just go ahead and
Sell
sell it to someone else.
it. Now, I'll go back to Bree for a second. Bree, do you know how to sell a whale? Would you even know what to do?
No.
No, me neither. He found out what to do. Do you think it's possible maybe he knew what he was doing?
Probably upon finding out what to do.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right, like eBay, I don't even know. Where'd you even say? I mean, I'm being slightly facetious, but you're not just actually selling the whale. Let's just be careful. Vicky, what did they actually do to the whale after it washes ashore? I'm sorry, you gotta speak louder. Before selling it, yeah, because they can't move. The whale's too big. They can't like transport it in its full form. What did they actually do to the whale? Why are they killing whales? Why is this even a business? What are they killing whales for? Fun? Wait, no. Other answer. Yes. And how do you convert a whale into oil? I know that sounds gross, but just help me out here. The blubber. I'm sorry. Who Molly's wincing before? Yeah. You basically chop up the whale. You chop it up, and it's called trying, T-R-Y, right? And you basically squeeze. Sorry. If you ever go to New England, they actually have these whaling facilities you can visit in Connecticut and elsewhere. And they actually basically squeeze from the blubber, the fat of the whale, this oil. It was used for lighting, heating oil. They didn't even know there was oil in the ground. This was an old custom. Okay. So I take Bree's point well. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, right? You don't just randomly, convert a 70-ton whale to oil and then say, "Oh, I didn't know what I was doing." But I appreciate your skepticism. It's actually well placed. Good. Anyone else need the marker? Down here. Okay. All right. So I think Ellis knew what he was doing. I don't think he was an idiot. Maybe you're disagreeing with me, but that's fine. We can disagree. The whale washes ashore. An auction's held. They held an auction for whaling, and no one thought to alert again. Again, that's why I suspect that something shady was going on. They probably knew this was wrong, but they had a easy buck, right? They didn't have to hunt it, but they got the proceeds. All right. It's sold for however much money. Then Gen finds out. Ooh. Is that Nikki? Nikki, what happens when Gen finds out about this auction?
Then he's trying to sue for the title of the whale.
Ah. Does he now again use the word title? What's he actually seeking in court? The whale's gone, right? You can't get the whale back. The whale doesn't exist anymore. It's been chopped into a million pieces. He wants the profit from the trying oil. Very good. All right. So Gen sues Rich. Not Ellis. Not sure where Ellis is in this picture, but he sues Rich for the value of the oil that was removed from the carcass. All right. So is that Tony?
Yeah.
Tony, were there any statutes governing this case? Did the legislature or Congress enact a statute governing this case?
If I remember correctly, it had something to do with the industry would collapse.
You're giving me 5 answers down the line. Were there any statutes governing this dispute? Laws, statutes enacted by the legislature?
Not that I remember.
No. What does the court rely on?
I mean, the customs are just kind of like.
Does he cite just customs? What else does he cite?
Sorry?
What else is he citing?
Would be honesty or.
No. Hey, my friend.
Rager,
What is the court citing here?
he cites 2 earlier cases, doesn't he?
Three. The 3 cases. We have three cases, right? So let's go through each of these cases one at a time. The first case was it Tabor. I always forget the order they're in. Is it Tabor? Yeah, Tabor. I'm sorry. Yeah, I always forget the order. All right. So Rager, walk me through the first case, Tabor.
Okay, so in Tabor, there was a whale that had been killed and been anchored and left bookmarks.
What do you mean anchor? Just spell that out for me, please. What does it mean anchor? The case doesn't actually say what that means, but just what do you think that means?
I'm pretty sure it's where using Hartman still lodged on that side, you literally tie the whale down or drop the weight down to keep it from.
Yeah. I mean, imagine you're in a boat, you harpoon the whale, the line sticks, and you basically are following the whale wherever it goes. And eventually, the whale falls to the bottom of the sea, and your boat's still there. That's gotta suck, just sitting waiting for the whale. I don't know how long it takes. I have no idea. Maybe some of you can Google this, right? But like, you just basically wait around for the whale to harpoon and come back up, right? But the more likely option is that they would put a flag or a buoy, right, that would float on the surface, saying, that's my whale. And eventually, when it comes ashore, the rope's still attached to it. All right. So when you have the anchor that's holding, right, it goes to the original captor. That's an easy case, right? Because there's no doubt that it was theirs. Now, is that Natalie? Natalie, why can't they just put the whale in their boat and drag it to shore? Why have this elaborate thing where the thing falls to the ocean and sort of nonsense?
I mean, I feel like dragging a whale on the boat is impossible.
Yeah. We're talking little wood boats. I'm talking like the Titanic, right? This is a little wooden boat. It would destroy the boat. They couldn't do it. So then why do you think this custom developed with this anchor and this flag, this other business?
I mean, I feel like we had to do this elaborate custom because it's a lot of work.
Good.
And so if you were going through the motions, then that must mean if you were abiding by the custom and like wanted the outcome.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks so much, Natalie. This custom developed by the fishermen because it was the only thing they could do, right? They realized there's this valuable resource in the ocean. We need a way to bring it to shore. We can't drag it ourselves, so let's do the next best thing. Okay? All right. That was the first case. I can't plug my charger in. I'm getting sloppy. There's a lot of AV stuff that I have to put on. If you guys watch, I have a lot of equipment. Tripod, mic, everything, but it's production value. Are you serious? I was the first professor on Zoom to have lighting. I did all this stuff ready. I had ready to roll. It's true. It's 4K right there. Serious? I don't use this thing. This is that's my own. It's personal stash. Doesn't have to. Chris, save us. What's the second case the court cites?
So basically, they killed a whale, anchored it, attached a weight to the body, and then left it on the shore some distance for the night. And then the next morning, they found the whale adrift, the anchor wasn't holding, and the cable pulled around the body in a way for anchors attached to it. Excellent.
Very good. So what then is the rule from the second case, Bartlett versus Budd?
So basically, that the whale does not become property until firm possession has been established.
Okay, good. So firm possession. Now help us out. That now becomes a hard question. What does firm possession mean?
So I kind of take that to mean like once you've actually taken the whale, like maybe you've like caught
So
it.
you said taken, right? Don't use that word.
Okay.
What does firm possession mean? Try and describe it.
So you track the whale, your anchor's in it, you kill the whale, maybe you stayed around to actually like make sure that you've gotten possession of it.
Okay, good. Right. So the first case and the second case seem similar. You have to have some sort of physical attachment to the whale, whether it's a harpoon or an iron or sort of flag or something else, right? Everyone with me so far? All right. Lloyd, give me the third case, Swift against Gifford.
Swift, we had a whale situation where they dropped the whale and then the line attached to it remained in the whale, but did not remain attached. So
Okay.
another crew that was helping in pursuit of the whale.
Okay, excellent. All right. So Lloyd, help us out. In the three cases we just cited, what do they all have in common? What's present in all three of those cases?
Varying stages of trying to complete process of possession.
Right. But what do all three cases have?
Well,
Yeah, a whale and a harpoon. But what's the connection between the whale and the harpoon? Let me make the question really easy. And more?
the way of the marking that.
Yeah, there's some physical contact, right? I say I give you connection. That's basically the answer, right? There's something connecting the whalers with that whale. There's an anchor. There's a flag. There's a harpoon. There's a brand. There's something connecting the whale with the crew. But Anwar, in this case, is there any connection between Gen and the whale? No marking, any anchor, no rope, no flag. So again, I asked the question I gave to those guys 15 minutes ago. How do we know this is his whale? We don't. We have no idea. Right. So there's a risk of fraud, right? That again was like, you know what? I heard about this auction. No one put a claim to it. I'm going to make the claim. Who's going to stop me? So again, we do not know if he actually caught it. Now, is that Mike? So Mike, there's no precedent that clearly governs this case, right? They cited 3 cases. None of them are on point. How then does the court decide this case?
I think that they decided based upon the fact that he's in the profession itself, and so I guess they limit themselves to the idea that he wouldn't go through all of this if he didn't have a reason to.
What, fishermen can't be dishonest?
I guess not that good.
Oh, they can be. Oh, I don't care what year, and people they're crooks in every field. I think Mike gives me the right answer, but I'm skeptical of it, right? The court seems to be saying we have a conflict between a known, respected fisherman and basically a scoundrel, right? A crook who put up for auction a whale that obviously wasn't his. He didn't kill it. And the court prefers the fisherman. Now, is that Ketsia? Ketsia, why do you think the court prefers the fisherman over the scoundrel? Oh, no, I skipped you. Oh, you were so excited. Oh, he was like, oh, thank God. Is it Andres? Why do you think the court preferred the fisherman over the scoundrel? And she didn't even stop me. She's like, it's him. So, no, so I was like, not me, go him, right? You're in the deck anyway. So why do you think they trusted the fisherman over the scoundrel?
I would say just because he's been a part of the industry for a while. So he's aware of the
Okay, let me ask the question a little more broadly, Andres. Why do you think the judge cared so much about these customs? Why couldn't he just say, you know what, finders keepers, he found on the beach, it says, for Ellis.
Because they didn't mention that if they have those type of systems, like wouldn't it be sustainable for them to?
What happens to the whaling industry, Andres, if we reward whoever finds on the beach?
You probably collapse, but still, there's no way.
Exactly. If you defer to whoever finds on the beach, it's very likely that the whaling industry collapses, like Andres said. Who's going to risk their life to hunt a whale in the ocean if some person can just find on the beach and sell it? Right? This is a very unique job, a unique profession where very unique rules warranted. Usually you have to capture the whale in your hands, but it's impossible. You cannot capture the whale here because it's so big. All right, so the holding then, right? The holding of the case is you don't need physical possession. You don't have to put the duck in your arms to have title, to have ownership of the whale, right? It's sufficient to have just chased it. Is that enough? Is that the holding, that you can get a whale just by virtue of chasing and shooting, even if you have no proof? Ketsi, did I give you the holding correctly? Is that the holding of this case? And what's the holding of this case? Maybe I'm misleading you. Maybe I'm telling you the wrong thing. But how do we know he killed it? Yeah. So we talked about a theory, Ketsia, last week that discusses how much work you put into a hunt. What's that theory called? Yeah, labor theory. You said it. Good. What's labor theory? Just finish it up. Last question. The manure, yeah. Good memory. Good. So, Chad, let me ask you a follow-up, please. How do you think the court followed labor theory in this case?
Well, I think the court's basically saying that the possession of the whale takes place when the people that are trying to catch it do as much as reasonably possible.
So you have to actually hold the whale in your hands, but if you do a certain amount of work, it's basically yours. Okay, good. Very good. So everyone see that. Let me just pause on this for a minute. The holding of this case is based on labor theory, right? John Locke, remember L-O-C-K-E, looked like Mr. Burns, remember? John Locke explained it's not always necessary to have physical occupancy of the animal. because often it's not possible. The whale is too big. You can't capture in your hands. Instead, I think Locke would say, so long as you invest a sufficient amount of labor into the chase, you can gain ownership of the animal, right? You work, you hunt, you're at sea, you're firing your harpoons, doing all these crazy things. You didn't get it. Your iron didn't hold, your rope broke, whatever happened, we don't know. Close enough. So we're going to see the John Locke labor holding. Is it Daniela? Or actually, hold on. I want to do it here. Daniela, what's the rule of capture?
Whoever finds the item or whatever first has title of possessory.
Right. So the rule of capture is based on physical touch, right? Physically touching. If we use rule of capture in this first case, who would have prevailed? Ellis and Rich. Why would Ellis and Rich prevail? That's right. And actually chop up the blubber and make it into oil, right? Good. So here we have a contest between rule of capture and labor theory, right? The majority favors the labor theory. I think Ketsia and Andres are right on that one, right? And Chad, the majority favors the labor theory. There's no dissent, but the other side would have favored the capture theory. We'll see in the three cases today, sort of back and forth between labor and capture, right? In the next case, the duck case, I think it's labor. And in the last case, the baseball case, I think it's capture. So you see courts use either and both theories in different ways. Okay. Questions on the first case? I think okay. Jason, then Natalie, then Anwar.
Confused as to how the court determined that he did everything possible to make an animal his own. Because then weren't there lacking evidence as to whether or not he even shot the whale?
We have no evidence. Maybe he showed that there are records that he was sailing in that area. Maybe he showed he was the only whaling crew in that area. Right? Maybe there's other evidence that's just not in the reported case. But on the record we have here, I think Jason's right. There's just not much evidence. I'll add Trey to the queue. Yeah, Natalie, then Anwar, then Trey.
Is the capsule the same as the finders keepers rule?
Okay, so I made a mistake before. I said finders keepers. I didn't want you to take me literally. The finders keeper actually refers to inanimate objects. Right? We'll do this in class, I think next week. I said it, I was like, Josh, don't say it, you're going to mess them up, because then we'll write that in the notes. Finders keeper refers to a lost inanimate object, like a jewel or a stone. The rule of capture applies to fugitive resources, like an animal or a baseball, apparently, flying through the air, or like something else. So you're paying attention, which is good, but I said the wrong thing. So everyone get that, just don't, rule of capture is for animals and live things. Finders keepers for dead things. Anwar, then Trey.
You mentioned like some courts use labor theory and others use rule of capture. Does that depend on the jurisdiction or on the type of property?
It depends on so many factors. Judges sometimes use it on their own. There's not a clear, bright line. I'm sorry, my friend. You have to know both rules and deal with them. Yeah, Trey, go ahead.
So I was thinking, like, wasn't it custom at the time for the hunter to like publish that he shot a whale? Like,
Yeah, so maybe there's evidence in the record, that's not in the case, that Gann said, hey, we killed a whale on such and such date in such and such location. Heads up, right?
I was wondering if he had published it or not.
There probably was some sort of directory. If not, he just told the fisherman at the bar or the pub, right? My hand here. Yeah, very good questions, right? So the first case, I think, is a good illustration of the labor theory. At least the court says, if we don't reward this labor, the entire industry will just shut down. Then we won't have any oil. Okay. Yeah, that's in the first case. I was in the second case. This is a funny case. Keeble versus Hickory-Gill, that's ducks. Let's do a poll question, right? Let's skip number 4. A usage is basically a custom that the community has. That's what a usage is. I won't always do all the questions because sometimes you jump around in your answer, so I sort of have to deviate. If you don't, I don't use PowerPoint because they force you to follow a specific trajectory. I follow you. Like if you watch my video from this morning, completely different path. We had all the same points in different orders. So that's why I don't always do all the questions in the right order. Let's do question 5. Short answer. This is gonna be for, I think, Angelica in a moment. Who owned the ducks on Keeble's Pond? Okay, another 15 seconds. Actually, I ordered a new omnidirectional mic, so it picks up the more voices, because this one is limited. It doesn't pick up everything, so I'm trying to figure a way. I think about these things. All right, Angelica, help us out here. Who owned the ducks in Keeble's Pond? How do you know that?
Because of the theory of constructive possession.
What's constructive possession here?
It says that landowners are regarded as the possessors of any animal on their land.
Good.
So the animal.
What's the Latin phrase for this doctrine?
Rash. I don't know how to say it.
Just spell it.
Rationale, the Latin.
Good enough. I say rationally solely. If I'm wrong, I don't care. Right? I once had a professor observe my class, and he pronounced the Latin wrong. I was like, I don't care. Right? But just I know what you're talking about. Rationally solely. Right? This is a Latin doctrine, and it says if you own property, you own whatever wild animals happen to be on the piece of property. So if there's ducks in your pond, they're yours. If there's deer in your forest, there's yours. If there's birds flying overhead, they're yours, right? This is an old concept that you own whatever is on your land, under your land, think of oils and minerals and gas, and over your land, think of the air rights. Like remember Tort's air rights? You own everything from up to the heavens, down to hell, as they would say. All right? Now, the thing about wild animals is they don't stay in place. They move around. And that's why they're called fugitive. So a duck might start in the air, swoop onto your pond, it's yours, fly away, not yours anymore. All right, so the status of a duck very much depends on where it is at a given point in time. All right. Now, we have two people, Keeble and Hickeringhill. Keeble liked ducks. And he built these elaborate devices to keep the ducks on his property, right? These are the duck decoys. No one ever do this? Duck hunting, anyone? You ever use one of these decoys? No. Let me show you a video of this. Maybe you have. What? Not like this, right? The video's in Dutch, so if you don't understand it, you're fine. I don't know what they're saying either. So the ducks fly into the trap. They get stuck. Guy runs around with his hat and dog. He lifts the thing, and the duck's trapped. Okay, that's it. The rest of it is boring. These are basically duck traps, right? To bring them in. All right, so he has his duck trap. Sarah, we have these duck traps here, right? What was the actual dispute between people and Hickeringhill? What happened?
So basically, people use these duck traps to trap ducks on his property so he could sell them.
Yeah.
And so then Hickeringhill, he thought it'd be funny if he could scare the ducks.
He thought it'd be funny. Let me just stop you there. What do you mean thought it'd be funny? Like, pull the knocks on each other? What do you mean thought it'd be funny?
I don't know. I think he just wanted to be like an a-hole and just scare the ducks away.
Yeah, a-hole, that's good. How about jerk? That's the more PG version, right? He wants to be a jerk. He wants to piss off his neighbors. Do you have neighbors? Did they ever make you upset?
I have no idea.
Me too. I don't care about neighbors. I ignore them altogether. It doesn't matter. But some people really get into their neighbors. And this is an example where these two really wealthy, and these guys are wealthy dudes. I'll show you his picture. I think it's in the book. I think it's in the book. I mean, he's a big wig. You know that he's a big wig. But look at this guy. He looks like an a-hole, right? See Sarah's description, right? So Mr. Hickeringhill was like, screw this. He has this elaborate, duck trap thing, I'm going to do what?
Basically, like, Hickendoki shot off his gun just to scare away the ducks.
Did he
Like,
shoot the ducks?
no,
Was he trying to kill the ducks?
no, he just wanted them to leave the property,
And go where?
maybe onto his.
Anywhere else, right? I mean, really, you guys, the duck, once you shoot the gun, they just fly away, right? You don't know where the heck they're going, right? So this wasn't even an attempt to bring the ducks from A to B, right? He was just trying to scare the ducks with a spear gun. Duck hunters, am I right about this? Okay, good. Right, so he's being an a-hole. I don't know the other words to do this, right? So, is that Kay? Kay, this goes to court. What's the cause of action? What is Mr. Keeble actually suing for? What's actually the cause of action here?
It just said like malicious interference.
Malicious interference. Is this like a nuisance he's suing for?
Yeah,
Or trespass?
it never mentioned trespass, but that was kind of what it's about.
Well, did he actually fire anything onto the land of Mr. Keeble? Was there actually trespass?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I'm not sure it was a nuisance, just a single gun blast. That's probably not enough for a nuisance. Usually you think of nuisance like an ongoing, right, not just like a one-time thing. He actually did it a couple times, but this is sort of a short-term thing. He should for interference. Interference with what? Okay.
With his livelihood, essentially.
Wait, hold on. Do you think these guys needed ducks to survive? Was this a live? Look at this guy, right? Right. Do you think he needed this duck to survive, to put food on his table for his, his family? No. Oh my goodness. I need marker. I can't do that. Is that Anna?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's very faint. Just get a marker and make that a little more pronounced. Anna, why was he killing ducks? Was this for his livelihood? Yeah, it was a hobby, right? It was for fun, for recreation, for sport. I mean, I know there are hunters here. You guys probably aren't eating food. You eat it, but that's not what you're eating for recreation, right? So is this actually a profession, Anna? No. So then, why is this malicious interference? You have some sort of legal right to engage in a hobby? Good. Right. So this isn't about, an actual job. Because again, look at this guy. They don't need the money, right? They're just a bunch of wealthy guys shooting ducks, right? But instead, it's a broader principle. With this rational solely doctrine, you generally have the right to control what's on your land. Right? Now, Tristan, did the court base its ruling on this rational solely doctrine?
No, it wasn't based off unfair competition.
So, yeah, you're correct. The court based its ruling on unfair competition. But why do you think there's not a discussion of rational solely, like barely even mentioned?
Probably since everything takes place on Hickendoki property as well.
No, but the ducks are on people property. Why do you think the court based on this other ration, not rational solely, but the unfair competition?
That it removes the ducks from the property and he wasn't able to enjoy it.
Not exactly. All right. So if you look at the readings, right, the court said this case was argued several times. And maybe at one point, the judge, who was actually Chief Justice Holt, was leaning towards rational solely, but decided to use a different ground. We don't know why. Maybe one reason is he wanted to cast a bigger ruling on unfair competition, because the ruling on rational solely would be very narrow. To cast this big ruling, the judge, they always sort of go beyond their charge or their scope, right? But there's 2 grants in a row. Is that deliberate? No. Okay. Apparently, grant. I probably appreciate the initials you put in. That's good. All right. So we have a base unfair competition. So grant D. Why is shooting up the gun malicious interference or unfair competition? What about it?
Why is it malicious interference?
Yes.
Because it interferes with Keeble's property rights.
But it's done from the neighboring property, right?
Correct.
Who cares where it's done from?
Yeah, I think the point is that it was a disturbance. That's really the angle the court's looking at as far as.
What did the court say will be a valid form of competition? What if Hickendoki built his own duck decoy that was bigger and better and nicer? capture all the ducks that way. Would that be okay?
That would be permitted based on.
Good, good. Right, so it's malicious prosecution because you're using basically improper means to get there. Right, you're not competing on the fair, equal terms. You're basically shooting against to scare away the ducks. Really fascinating. The only cookies left are the raisin and peanut butter. Those are the most unpopular things, right? The chocolate chip and the double chocolate chip are all common. So do you don't like raisin and peanut butter?
I like peanut butter.
I would eat the peanut butter.
All right, we'll get them later. It's just fascinating. Peanut butter, absolutely fascinating. I used to sell candy when I was a kid, and the Reese's cups always the last ones to sell, always. Yeah, I used to get a box of candy from school, $1 a bar. Reese's always sold the last. I was always stuck with them. I don't like peanut butter. What do I know? Okay. All right. So the basis of the holding then is not rationally solely, but it's based on unfair competition. Now, grant T. How does the court incorporate labor theory into its holding? It's not expressed. You never mentioned John Locke, but how does the idea of labor theory work into this case?
You talk about the classroom school teacher example.
Sure, mention that. That's fine.
Just essentially like when we fire the drawing, that could be considered unfair competition in the like teacher's theory. If you have a man sitting outside a schoolhouse with a gun, that's going to scare off all the kids,
right.
scare off all of his business. Whereas if he opens up another school down the street, that's considered fair.
All good, but labor theory. Why is the court giving the victory here to the hunter? Okay, the guy goes, he's elaborate.
Because we have Keeble who's putting in all this time and effort to make the decoys and sit around and wait for the ducks, whereas Pickering, just fires off the gun.
Who are we rewarding here?
The man who puts in more labor.
And what does that do by giving the reward for the person who worked harder? What's that creating? What do we call that? What's that word? What is that I? Yes, I heard it.
Incentive.
Don't whisper. I have very good hearing. I can hear from across the room. It's impressive. The TV, I can hear any of the TV's on, right? Incentives, right? Incentives. And even if your mouths are covered with a mask, I can still make it out, which is actually even harder. I can usually read it. Incentives. The court creates incentives for productive use of labor, right? The productive use of building these decoy things, making the these tracks, whatever it is, right? So again, case number one, labor theory, right? Case number two, labor theory. Seeing a pattern, right? Case number three goes a little bit differently. All right, question so far. All right, so we've talked a bit about labor theory. Let's try question number 7. Okay, multiple choice. This is me for name's Dylan. The rule of capture is fair. True or false? Let's talk about capture for a bit. Excuse me. All right, Dylan, what's your answer here?
I'm kind of conflicted about it.
Oh, good. I like conflict. That's good because I think it's actually a hard question.
Because, you could say it is fair, as in the person who finds it and holds it off, well, nobody else got it, be faster next time. But also, whoever put in the, like labor theory, you put in the effort, it should be yours.
Ooh.
Labor, and you're kind of taking that from another person.
That one's pretty, 60-40. So who the hell puts C? That's not an option. Come on, guys. It's like you get like 100 points writing your name on the exam. It's multiple choice, true or false. It's being C. I can find out. I won't say it. I'm not going to look it up. I try back. I try to push the wrong button. Okay. So, so I think, Dylan, you're conflicted. A lot of people are also conflicted. Is that Vanessa?
Yes.
What are people here? Why do you think the rule capture is fair?
Because if you're touching something or you're putting an effort, unless it was purposely.
Well, no. Think of the first case, right? The guy who actually put his hands in the whale was the guy who just stumbled across on the beach. Later. He just stumbled on the beach.
You're right. So maybe
Oh. Let me ask you a follow-up, Vanessa. You're going to hate this one. I'm sorry.
okay.
What does fair mean? I know. I told you you're going to hate it.
Fair, like
What's fair? It's the words up there. 4-letter word begins with an F.
what is it?
is I say, that's not fair, right? What does fair mean?
What is good for you is good for, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Sarah, what does fair mean?
It's very subjective. for
Yeah,
some
there-
person.
Yeah, and then last class, someone said it depends on the context, like the best law student answer ever, right? So you're subjective, you're right. What's that's your thing right there. Or maybe it was right there. So there's one. I remember people sit, it's very strange. I don't know your name, but I know where you sit. It's strange. Yeah. What does fair mean here? Ooh.
I mean, it's kind of like what Vanessa was saying, like, it's good for you. It might not.
All right, so let's just
necessarily
use the example of the whale case for a minute, right? Sarah, you're walking along the beach, you stumble upon an 80-ton whale. You're like, lottery, I win, right? Success. You go to court and you say, Your Honor, I found this whale, it's mine. The other guy comes and says, No, I was hunting a month ago with my whale. Why might a court say that the rule of capture is more fair?
They might be saying, well, if you were really trying to actually obtain the whale, you should have worked harder to keep track of it or something like that.
Think in terms of evidence, Sarah. If you're a judge and you have these two people in front of you, you want to issue a fair ruling. What do you know for sure?
Whatever the evidence tells
And
me.
what does the evidence tell you here? What's the only evidence you really have?
One person's word against another.
It's not just one person's word. What does the finder have?
Of the whale.
The whale.
Yeah.
So in some regards, the rule of capture is fair because it creates for very certain results, right? It's a clear answer. He has the whale. He found it. He wins. Right? Oh, back down here, Cade. We did everyone. See, I told you about class and a half. It's pretty regular. Cade. Now, what'd you put here? Put A or B?
I put B.
Oh, perfect. Tell me why you put B. That's what I wanted to ask about. Why'd you put false here?
Because I think that someone else could put in more effort and you could then claim that you.
So you're saying the labor theory is more fair?
Yes.
All right. So that's the obviously better answer. But if you ask me, I think labor is more fair. I think the capture theory is kind of unfair. I'm not saying you guys are wrong. The 26 of you, you're definitely wrong, right? But in my view, generally, you say that the rule of capture is not always fair. And so, Cade, why is rule of capture not always fair?
Because you may not have put in forth all the effort.
Right.
But you.
Someone may have gotten cut short. The guy put all the work and gets cut short, right? The advantage, though, the capture theory is what we call certainty, right? Certainty. It's a clean, easy issue for the judge to follow, right? Rich is here. He bought the whale himself. He has the whale. This gang guy, who knows where he is? Maybe this guy was out drinking, right? We don't know where this guy was. So you usually think of the labor theory as more fair, but the capture rule is more certain. It creates a certainty that courts prefer. And I think in the next case, you'll see why the judge favored a capture approach over a labor approach. Good so far. We see the relationship between cases 1 and 2. Questions on case number 2, the duck case. Kind of a weird case, but it's fun. These facts are fun. These are enjoyable facts. Facts that are much more boring in about a week or two. It's true. You don't think they're fun? No? Yes, of course. No, you're lying. That's okay. You don't have to like it. It's okay. Things can be boring. All right. Can we move on? All right. Another video. A lot of videos today. It's not too many videos for the rest of the semester. All right. So this is the Barry Bonds. Anyone actually remember the Barry Bonds home run thing from the... Yeah, I remember. This was a huge deal, right? And it was from an era in baseball that was marked by steroids, right? People are nodding. Remember this. In a very short period of time, you had these home run records that stood for decades. And they all fell one after the other. It was Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds. Just these guys who used to be like this became like this, right? And like they just juiced up. And then, they all kind of fell into disgrace because they were all steroiding, right? So this guy, Barry Bonds, was a player in the San Francisco Giants in 2001. And he hits the record-breaking home run, 73 home runs in one season. Okay, so let's just play this clip. It's short, it's 2 minutes.
Here's the payoff. A floater to Bonds, and he hits it hard. Oh, it's coming right at me. He hits it deep.
All right, guys,
That's
I'm
pop
getting
up.
like 4
me. Patrick Hayashi of Santa Clara County comes up with a jewel out in the right field bleachers. Patrick is going to be the Bay Area's newest millionaire. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. He's not the guy who caught the ball. I go up, I'm probably 6 inches taller than anybody around me. I catch it. Then we start to realize that this is actually a bigger story than just this historic home run ball. There is a fight now brewing over the record-setting 73rd home run ball. At that point, Alex hired an attorney, and he filed a lawsuit against Patrick Hayashi. You guys got a better chance splitting the money than going to court. I will be the rightful owner of that ball at the end of this trial. You have no witnesses. You have no videotape. An umpire has to make a decision in less than a second. Now we have that decision stretched out over weeks and weeks and weeks in a courtroom.
I saw Mr. Hayashi fight a kid.
You recall yelling out,
You bit him.
Yes. Okay. I think it was Al. Sorry. I say it's finders, keepers, losers, sweepers, man. Give the man back his damn ball. Let's move on.
That ball's on the ground. The Giants are happy for you to keep any ball thrown or hit into the stands. However, this can be dangerous, so please be alert at all times.
Okay. All right, and we get the gist, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a baseball fan, if you know what baseball is. Oh, yeah. I don't presume students know anything. I mean that gently, right? I don't presume you know how baseball works. People just never exposed. So the idea of baseball is you have one person throwing a ball, another person hitting a ball. Okay. So the pitcher throws the ball to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds swings his bat, and he launches the ball 400 feet into the outfield, right? Into a spectator section, right, where people are standing. It's not actually. I've actually been to Pac-Bell Park. I actually walked over that area just for fun. Now it's called AT&T Park, I think, or it's going to change again. I can't remember. It's a standing room only section, 400 feet away. So Bonds hits the ball. At that point, the ball's been abandoned, right? And it's flying at a very high velocity, probably like 80 miles an hour, right? Flying out of the stadium. It could hurt you. Anyone ever catch a foul ball at a game? I almost did once. It was a rope in front of me. I kind of went for it and someone else dived. It was at Yankee Stadium. I wasn't going to dive for it, so I let him have it. But these balls can actually hurt you. If a foul ball hits you, it can actually break your nose and really hurt you. All right, so the ball's flying. And then we have this, right? This scrum of, dozens of people all packed into the standing room section. And they have their eyes on the ball, which they thought would be worth $1 million. Right? So let's just walk through this step by step. The ball's hit, goes flying into the outfield. The ball comes into this area called the arcade. It hits. See this picture right here? It hits the glove, the webbing of the glove of Popoff. Okay? And you can see he kind of has the ball, the glove kind of wrapped around the ball, right? At that point, he does not safely catch the ball. It's actually the opposite of safe. Everyone sees that this dude has his hand up, and they start mobbing him. They jump on him. They're punching him. They're kicking him. They're swiping their hands underneath him to try and dislodge the ball. We have no idea what happened as he went down. This wasn't like, today where it's like high definition cameras. Look how blurry this picture is, right? There's no HD cameras, people on their iPhones, Instagram Live, but we don't have that. This is 20 years ago. As he goes to the ground, somehow, we don't know, the ball becomes loose. And it rolls away. We have no idea how. Hayashi is there. He apparently bit someone. Here's the thing. The kid's like, I said, ouch, right? He actually bit some kid. You say, oh man, I would do. How many of you would have done the same thing? Yeah, if you were in that scrum, you had $1 million ball rolling around. Yeah. Don't lie. You always do the same thing. Somehow the ball rolls over to Hayashi. Hayashi picks up the ball. You see him holding it to the camera, right? Okay. And at that point, he holds a picture to the ball to the camera, and then the security escorts him out. You can imagine this guy's, I'm a millionaire. Then what happens? Monet, what happens? So Hayashi gets the ball, he leaves the stadium. What happens now?
The Papa, the guy that the ball touched his glove.
Yep.
He fouled suit.
Yeah.
And he took the ball, he didn't take the ball, but the ball was actually his.
What was his cause of action? What did he sue based on?
Conversion, trespass to child, injunctive relief,
Good.
and constructive trust.
Good. So conversion, basically, right? That's my ball. You've taken my ball. Give me my ball back, right? Okay. Samia? How can I say I'm sorry? Samaya, let me ask this question. Which theory did Mr. Popov prefer?
And with regards to conversion?
Yeah, we were talking about different theories in class today. What theory did Popov prefer?
I believe that he claims that he had, I guess, dominion and control over the bone. I think I'm answering something different.
No, you're on the right track. So what are the two theories you've been talking about all day?
Labor theory
And?
custody.
Not custom. What's the other one? The two things I've been asking it all day.
Constructive possession. Capture.
Capture. Okay. So we have labor and capture. Maya, what theory did Mr. Popov prefer in this case?
I want to say labor.
Did he actually come away with the ball?
No.
What did he actually do?
Well, capture. Yeah. So he reached up for the ball to grab it, and he believes that he caught it.
Okay, so Tamika, in your mind, did Mr. Popov put a lot of labor into catching the ball?
Yeah,
What kind of labor did he actually put in?
like a physical labor, he reached out to grab it.
Let's quantify it. Did he do anything different than the guy next to him and the guy next to him? So, I mean, the ball went to his glove. Was that based on some sort of skill?
No.
What was it based on? Luck. Chance, right? He was in the right place at the right time, right? This isn't like the whaling, again, who spent a week at sea trying to catch a whale, right? He was completely lucky, right? Just looking at that picture, there were dozens of people. If the ball had been a centimeter to the left, he would have got it, right? And the ball went an inch to the right, this guy would have gotten it. So I don't know how much labor Mr. Popov actually put into this case. I have no idea. But that was his best argument, right? Can someone get her a tag, please, wherever they are? Yeah. So Alexia, when you're done, right? Was this an easy case for labor theory? I mean, why do you think he was kind of thinking about labor?
I think that he used labor theory because it was the only thing that he could use when someone else had
Good.
total position.
Yeah, good. Exactly. Thank you, Alexia. This was the best he had, right? Because he didn't cleanly catch the ball, right? It hit his glove. And this is it. This is the closest he came to the ball. Now, I don't know if any of you watch football, but there are pretty intricate rules of football about how to make a catch, right? You usually have to have both hands of the ball. You have to secure the possession. Usually you put it against your chest or it's secured in your hands. If you're sort of bobbling it as you come to the ground, no catch. If you put it in your arms and when you hit the ground, the ball pops out, probably not a catch, right? If someone knocks it out, it might even be a loose ball, a fumble, right? You might even lose the ball. But the essence of a catch in football is you secure possession and you hit the ground. And you're on the ground, you have the ball, there's no jiggling, there's no bobbling, it's not loose, you have the ball in your possession. So I think under any normal theory, he probably didn't make the catch. So then, Maddie, what actual argument does Mr. Popov make? It's not a great argument, but for $1 million, lawyers will argue anything, right?
Well,
What actual argument does he make?
he cites a theory of possession that possession occurs when an individual intends to take control of the ball and manifests the intent by stopping the forward motion of the ball.
Okay, so he manifests an intent for what? Say that again?
To stop the forward motion of the ball. Or I guess the motion of the ball that was created by it being hit.
He manifests an intent to stop the forward motion of the ball. What the heck does that mean in English? What did he actually do?
Well, I mean, he did make contact with the ball, which I guess at that point stopped it from being, to an extent, abandoned.
Okay. I mean, just, Maddie, one question, because you said something good. If he had said, you know what, I'm going to put my hand down, would the ball have been abandoned?
If he had moved his hand
You just have to forget it. Never mind, I don't want the ball.
I think so, yeah.
Would someone else have gotten it?
Yes.
So is this a case like the whale case where we have to reward people to make sure that they maintain an industry like whaling?
Not particularly.
No. So this is a weird case for a labor theory argument, right? All these people paid an obscene amount of money for these tickets. And they were standing in this exact portion because that's where Bonds hit his home runs, right? He was a lefty. Those are the home runs. They went to that same spot all the time. In fact, there's actually a bay, if you saw the video. A lot of his home runs went into the actual bay. So there are actually people with kayaks floating around trying to get the home run balls. Okay? Beautiful park. Went to a ball game there maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Very nice. Let's watch a game. But he argues he had this pre-possessory interest. And the interest was created by stopping the momentum. So in his mind, if he didn't stop the momentum, what? Someone else would have. So it's not a very great theory, right? It's not a great theory. Claire, what does Hayashi argue? What's his argument?
The definition of possession is that like a person who catches a baseball needs to stop the momentum.
No. Hayashi.
Sorry?
Hayashi.
Oh, that possession does not occur until the fan has complete control of it.
Okay. What do you mean complete control? Help us out here.
So there was the grade theory for the complete control,
Mhm.
and that suggests this definition that if the person catches a baseball and takes a stand, then it's owner.
What is here? I think it's one of the poll questions. Let's try this one. Thank you, Claire. This is, I think, question number 6. I think I want to have order. All right, and this will be for Armin in a minute, but help us out, everyone. Short answer. What does unequivocal dominion, sounds like a video game, right? Unequivocal dominion mean? All right, Armin, help us out here. What is unequivocal dominion?
I would say unrefutable evidence that you have possession of something.
Well, that's good. You described in terms of evidence. What do you mean unrefutable evidence? Actually, it's actually a smart way of approaching it.
It can't be disproved that I have, dominion over something.
So what is Hayashi's evidence that he unequivocal dominion here? What's his evidence?
The video of him holding the ball.
He was
at the
smiling.
camera.
I'm smiling. You can't see this, but he was smiling. He was smiling to the world, holding his stupid ball up. Right? Look, I'm a millionaire. Right. So that's good. Unequivocal dominion. But also, I think the easiest way to describe dominion is you have physical control. It was in his hand. Right. You can't put a whale in your hands. You can put a duck in your hand. I suppose ducks are pretty small. Right. But he had it in his hands. There was no doubt that was his. Okay. Now, Sophia, you watched this video. It was ugly. Hayashi was biting some kid. People were biting and pushing and scratching and clawing. Should that affect the situation? Like, should it matter that they're all fighting and there's physical violence? Like, Papa's like, look, if this was a normal day and I just caught a foul ball, it would be fine. The reason he dropped is people were beating the life out of him.
Well, the court thinks so that it should matter because he wouldn't have lost dominion over the ball unless he had been attacked by unlawful actors.
So let's go back to the equities here, right? Alyssa, we often say the court likes to reward the good person and punish the bad person, right? That's generally what courts do. In the first case, Rich was kind of a jerk. He came along, he bought this whale that was obviously not his. In the second case, Hickory was being a jerk by just firing his gun off near his neighbor. Who was the jerk here? Who was acting in good faith and who was being the kind of the scoundrel?
I think honestly, Hayashi was in the wrong, and
Hayashi was in the wrong. Why do you think Hayashi was in the wrong?
because it really just sets a standard saying that y'all guys can just beat up on somebody for a ball or something. And I mean, he wasn't the first one who had possession. Well, I guess the first guy didn't have possession here, but he took it knowing he didn't catch it, and he just picked it off the floor.
Okay, very good.
I think the right thing to do would be to be honest and pass it back to the guy who had his glove.
You ever see there's a video on YouTube where there's like a foul ball and a kid gets and some guy takes from the kid? You ever see that ball video? Right. Usually you just give it to the kid. That's, I don't know, people tend to do. But I think Alyssa's making a similar point, right? Hayashi was being apparently a scoundrel. And he got burned him. Right. So the holding of the case, right? The law is that rule of capture applies. The gray rule, they call it, right? You don't actually get the ball unless you have absolute dominion over it, unequivocal dominion. And that requires having the ball in your hands clean, right? The fact that it touches your glove and then bounces away a split second later, not enough. But that's not the end of the case. The case doesn't end there, which is kind of weird, right? Is that Hanny? So the first part of the case, I get. I agree with it. Then we get to the second part of the case, which is kind of weird. What's the second part of the case here?
They decide to go with the middle ground.
You know, why does the judge just say, you know what? Hayashi has a ball, case over, judgment for Hayashi, done.
Because it's hard to understand what exactly happened because there were so many people trampling over Popov.
Right.
So it's hard to say if he would have actually kept control of the ball, if he didn't lose his own balance and the ball just fell to the ground.
Good. So what does the court actually do here?
They decide to go with the equitable distribution. So they have to sell the ball and then split the cost between both of them.
Fascinating. So this is again, the first part of the case, I get, right? I think it makes sense. And the second part, it's like, what? Kind of give you a double take. I think the judge was moved by equity here, as they say, right? The judge said, Popov got screwed, right? By all right, it should have been his. He didn't cleanly catch the ball. He was mobbed by a dozen people. He was beaten and punched and kicked, and all these other awful things happened to him. So we'll do the next best thing. This is when judges kind of make stuff up, right? Everyone nodding, I see people nodding. The law was on the side of Hayashi here. That's a clear victory for Hayashi. And frankly, there's no labor here, right? Popov just bought the right, I wasn't even see it, but he was in the right spot in the ballpark. But I think the court felt kind of funny giving a victory to Hayashi, so he split the difference. Yeah, Nick, go ahead.
I think it's more than just luck. Because there are a lot of articles there, and I mean, they're all thinking further around.
Guys, just one at a time. Yeah. I mean, he was in the right section, right? Bonds tended to hit his home runs in this region. So he was in the right ballpark, as they say, right? He was in the ballpark where we're supposed to be. But there were 30 or 40 people all jostling in the same area. Why do you think that was more than luck? Yeah, I think he said he was taller, right? I think he said he was 6 inches. So maybe the guy was tall. I mean, if you just look at his arm, and he's fully outstretched, right? He's a full extension. Glove here, I think a glove there. It's kind of blurry. Can't really make it out. So maybe it's just he was the tallest. Maybe by natural skill, he was the closest to the ball.
People are definitely going to be like, I mean, I'm sure going to be scooting each other around, right? Like, you're probably going to be, oh, okay, he has the ball.
You have to box out and knock the guy over, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the best way if you had like a team or something, to hold down everyone else and then do the jump. Okay, so Chad and then Arturo, go ahead.
I think it was just the notoriety and the amount that the ball is worth that kind of threw the wrench into it. Because normally, if it's a situation like this, if someone gets the ball, they're not going to be fighting and erupting up into a mob. Or if there's like a custom at baseball game, to The person-
Was there a custom among these millionaires seeking Giant fans? No, they wanted the money. I mean, that's also the point too. When money's at hand, the custom sort of just vanish. Arturo.
When it comes to clinical dominion, suppose Popoff caught it and he's bringing it down and someone punches him in the ribs and he lets go.
Yeah. Or let me change your hypo. Someone cuts off his hand. Walk fest, right? I mean, I'm being somewhat facetious, but like, let's see how committed is the judge to this principle, right? Let's say the ball goes into Popov's glove. Hayashi takes a machete and slices off his hand, and then takes the glove with the hand in it, right? And holds up the bloody hand. It's like a fact pattern for an exam. That's from hell, right? But Arturo, has that case come out?
Someone there's clearly a jerk.
You have a slayer statue, maybe a slasher statue, right? I mean, can you profit from your misdeeds? I mean, it's not a trivial point that Papa was making. If he would have had the ball, but for Hayashi's assault and battery, why wouldn't he keep it? Usually, you can't profit from your own crimes. We don't know if Popov actually was injured by Hayashi. We actually don't know that, right? We know he bit a kid, but we don't know if he actually injured Hayashi. Fun case, right? I got to use an exam when you're slicing up the guy's hand. Because I mean, it's still in Popov's hand. You're holding up the bloody glove, right? That's gross. Okay. Real questions. All right. So let me try to summarize a bit. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Sophia. Go ahead.
For the pre-possessory interest that we're talking about, is that something that we have? Like, I didn't really fully understand what that meant.
Right. So this concept of prepossessor interest is kind of like constructive. Who's that constructive earlier? Was that Angelica? I think you did. Right. Constructive possession means almost, right? You took many of the steps to get there, but you didn't go all the way. The word constructive in law, you've seen it as constructive notice, right? Constructive service of process, remember that? You do some of the stuff you need to get there, but not all the way. So here, he had it in his glove, which is like maybe 90%, but he failed to come down with it. Right? The hardest part was getting into his glove, right? Because there were 50,000 people in that stadium. He's the only one who got his glove. But he could not come down with the ball clean. Right? So let me just summarize a bit if I can. We have these two theories, right? We have the labor theory, and we have a rule of capture. Courts apply them in different ways in different cases. Often when a court wants a very clean, easy to apply rule, bright line rule, they go with the capture. Think of the baseball in Hayashi's hand. But then when they go to sort of the fairness, the equity aspect, they kick in the labor theory. Think of the whale case, the duck case, and really the remedial part, the remedy part of the baseball case. These two theories sort of overlap, and you see them very often throughout the semester. Neither one is right or wrong. They're both valid theories of law, but judges, for different reasons, tend to favor different regimes. Okay, questions? Yeah, Alyssa, go ahead.
Can you repeat the definition of unequivocal dominion?
I don't think I have one. Sure. I like actually Armin's was decent, right? It's you have irrefutable proof, right? It's yours. But it's very context specific, right? If you have the ball in your hand, that's clear and convincing evidence that it's yours. I think actually in football, it's irrefutable proof, clear and convincing. They have these different standards that they seem to make up. All right. I think we're good. Let me, before we leave, I always do an exit poll, if I can call it that. A short 1 or 2 sentences. If you have any questions I didn't answer, things you want me to address for next class, things that don't make sense, just type it in there. If you have no comments, it's fine. You can leave it blank. I don't care. But I find these helpful. In fact, after my first class, a couple people asked me things which I clarified here. So you sort of get the benefit of my first class's question. All right, anything else? If I had sent you the PDF of the readings for today, it's good for Thursday. If you don't need a new PDF, you're all good. Anything else? I will see you all in class on Thursday. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Safe trip home. Thank you.